Hey,
Hi, can you hear me okay?
so good to
Hi,
see you.
hello. I love that we're rocking our hats today.
I know, I love that hat that you have on. It looks very like summery, you know? I love that.
Glow getter.
Yes. I also need that shirt. This is a whole bob. Yes,
Yes,
I love it.
live, Ashley. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. So I'll just like do a quick intro. Hey, everybody who's joining us. This is the Infinite Focus Schools Teacher Talk Series. My name is Ashley Williams. I'm the founder and CEO of Infinite Focus Schools, which is a mindfulness and socio-emotional app. And we are here today with Danna Thomas of the Happy Teacher Revolution. And we're going to talk summer and self-care. Super excited to be here. So, Dana, tell us a little bit about you, about teaching, about Happy Teacher Revolution.
Yeah, so my journey with Happy Teacher Revolution started before I was a teacher. I was still a student. Can you hear me okay? Everything?
Yeah, I can hear
All right, cool. Well, also shout out from Baltimore. Um,
you.
I did woo! And Ashley and I, this is what's so amazing is Ashley and I actually know each other through a number of different connections, but we were both part of the Johns Hopkins Social Innovation Lab. So I'm just so grateful to be with you, Ashley, and to share the work of Hopkins support, but also, our journey in education. I just recognize all the folks who are tuning in live later, who are caregiver relationship intensive professional with kids. Shout out to you. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being a part of this network, for connecting with us. This is the work. This is so important. So thank you to all of you who are here. Hi. So my journey with Happy Teacher Revolution, it started when I was still a student. I grew up about 45 minutes away in Annapolis, Maryland. And I unfortunately was one of the 1 in 4 Americans who grapples with a mental illness. I represented the 1 in 5 college students who have contemplated suicide. I represented the statistic that the onset of mental illness most frequently occurs between the ages of 7 and 24. And when I was really suffering from anxiety and depression and panic attacks, my teachers, I consider them my emotional first responders because it was my educators who recognized subtle changes in behavior as warning signs. They provided life-saving differentiation and accommodation for me when I was in crisis. Like, I would not be here if it weren't for my teachers. And they encouraged me and inspired me to be a teacher myself. And so 7 years I served as a Baltimore City public school teacher. Shout out to BCS. And here's the thing that I realized is that we weren't adequately supporting the mental health of the teachers themselves so that they could support the kiddos in their classrooms. There's so many teachers who expressed to me feelings of stress and anxiety and isolation as it relates to the job. They were sharing this because I was very much trying to transform the pain of my journey of mental illness into a purpose to illuminate and share and amplify the voices of the voiceless, who folks who are suffering in silence, who feel so alone. And mental illness does not discriminate based on age or gender or socioeconomic status, but yet our community who feel the stigma even stronger are less likely to go seek support and get help because of that stigma surrounding mental illness, and specifically in professions as like teaching, right? Like, we're supposed to be heroes who got it all together. Oh, there's a pandemic. We can completely change our curriculum in 24 hours. No worries. We can do it. We can do anything. We're teachers. But it's like, no, human beings are not renewable resources. And there are so many who are coming in and out of the classroom as a revolving door. Some of my best friends, the best teachers ever, were leaving. They weren't getting that support. And so I created Happy Teacher Revolution as an answer to that demanding need of teachers craving community, craving connection. We say to heal, deal, and be real about the social, emotional, and intellectual demands that teachers face on the job. So it's not therapy, not a doctor. I'm not a licensed mental health professional. It's not a substitute therapy. I hope it's a gateway for folks to seek, supports in ways that they might not have been able to seek otherwise. But that really is inspired by the consciousness raising groups of the civil rights movement, of the women's liberation movement, of this idea of collectively organizing, naming situation, and creating solutions and opportunities out of that. So it's not AA. It might look like AA or a 12-step program in a circle, but you are allowed to do whatever you want afterwards, but it's not it's it's a community. It's fostering an opportunity for folks to connect. So we started our online training in 2017. So we've sort of been in the online space before all of the necessity of where we are now. But that's how we launched our meetings, because I was still teaching. I was a Baltimore full-time city school teacher when I started. Yeah. It was a side hustle. It was something I really cared about. I'm like, oh my gosh, teachers need this. And then as a result of 7 years in the classroom, I started to feel burnout. I started to experience compassion fatigue, toxic stress. And it was like I was learning and researching about these topics as it was happening to me. And I really believe that if we can create opportunities for community, it can help our teachers' happiness, their sustainability, their feelings of belonging and competency. And I made the leap. After 7 years, I leapt into entrepreneurship full time. My parents were like, "Yo, you're crazy. Like, you're walking away from this. You're the healthcare and the predictability of tenure and all this." And I said, listen, I had to take it was a bigger risk for me to not pursue my dreams and my belief in supporting the mental health and wellness of teachers than it was to just wonder what if. So that's where I'm at now. I joined the Hopkins Socialization Lab in 2019. And so that was really exciting just to get that affirmation from Hopkins to keep going. And so now we're in over 30 states in the US and growing. We're global with our largest international site in West Africa, in Dakar, Senegal, and we're launching in Canada as well. So it's been really exciting.
I mean, that's so amazing that you've been able to take your experiences and what you learned and your challenges and to transform it into something beautiful and helpful to other teachers all over. That's absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Can you talk a little bit about specifically like your classroom experiences? What were those specific challenges and also those specific like glorious moments of being a teacher in the classroom?
Well, and I think of the classroom moments, there's just so many beautiful opportunities to like build relationships, not just with the kiddos, but like with their family and with other stakeholders. I think that this moment, it was in my second year of teaching, and we were tasked with creating an action plan to help support a particular student who was struggling in our class. And when I think of that particular weekend, I identified one student, and a friend of mine, a coworker, identified another middle school student of hers. When we came into work that Monday morning, that particular student that she had identified, came around the corner of the hallway and into her room, and she realized that the night before, this particular student had witnessed an incredibly traumatic event in his own home. His mother murdered his little brother and then tried to take her own life. And he came to school to Miss Stumbris's class the next morning because that was his sense of normal. That was the structure. And it was this moment where like, what teacher preparation program, free service support do we give teachers for these this moment for Miss Stumbris in our class? Like, what happened? Like, how do we offer support for students after a traumatic event? How do we offer support for teachers after a traumatic event? What does it look like to offer ongoing support in these communities, right? Like, and all of these, I've been listening to teachers and them sharing with me, like, no one asked me if I was okay. Like, what are we doing to support individuals after witnessing incidents of trauma, or even working with individuals who've experienced trauma firsthand? And so, I think around what I have been able to do in terms of connect and listen to educators in the midst of COVID-19, the trauma of this pandemic, and what we can do as as essential workers operating in a sort of isolated way to support the communities that we're in.
Mm-hmm. And so what is self-care? Like, what is your definition of self-care, and what role does the Happy Teacher Revolution play with helping teachers with just that, with self-care?
So I define self-care as an act of self-preservation. So self-care can look privileged. It can look like an Instagram feed. It can look like bubble baths and candles and the eucalyptus and whatever. I mean, look, I got my plans, but that's not real self-care. Like, self-care is truly self-preservation, and it can be incredibly challenging. So self-care is setting boundaries. Self-care is saying no. Self-care is giving permission to take a sick day when you're sick, right? Even if you're working from home, right? Like, one of the teachers that I connected with taught while having COVID-19. She literally taught her class and would mute herself when she was coughing and all of this. And meanwhile, there is a sign in her yard that the PTA has put in, best teacher ever, as she's teaching in the midst of COVID. And this is a teacher who came to me reaching out, seeking support from Happy Teacher Revolution. And so what she shared with me is like, where do we draw the line here? Like, our teachers are working while suffering from an incurable disease. Like, what else? Where does it stop? And so Happy Teacher Revolution, we are able to offer educators the tools and support to not only advocate for themselves, to build self-awareness through self-care action plans and other resource and research-based materials, but also not only hold space for themselves, but to learn how to hold space for each other. So our revolutionary certification program encourages and enables individuals to be able to initiate and launch Happy Teacher Revolution meetings right away. So these are meetings folks have been able to launch online, or they're just doing the training in preparation to then be able to host the meetings in person down the road for whatever that looks like. But it has been really amazing to see the sites that we've been working with nationally who have launched Happy Teacher Revolution, specifically when it comes to data around SEL. So I just want to highlight, I have one of the things, here's some self-care practices. So I like to jot, I'm like a visual person, so I've been using this wall to just jot down Post-it notes, stories, like data that I'm gathering and capturing to collect and see themes. And this can be something that folks do. It's the human-centered design process, either working with kiddos or maybe if you do work with other teachers. But one of the things that we've realized in Happy Teacher Revolution is the improvement in terms of supporting our teachers in identifying feelings of isolation. So 93% of our respondents in Salem-Keizer schools have a colleague or coworker that they can count on no matter what. So a self-care strategy is to reach out to someone, have someone in your network. It might be somebody in your building. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's someone in another first-year teacher or someone you've met through Instagram, but have someone that you're connecting to, maybe like a wellness accountability partner. That can be a really helpful strategy for folks. Another self-care strategy, I am a huge data nerd, and when we think about data-driven teaching, like, we're always focused on the kids, right? Very important, but what about the grown-ups? So one of the things I've been doing is I made a goal for myself for 28 days of self-care. So I have just like this little tally sheet of different target goals that I have for my SEL. So some examples are journal, play, dance, walk, and I'm just keeping a tracker for myself. Not necessarily that I have to like check it off every single day, but just to set a goal over the course of the next 28 days. We celebrated the summer solstice on Sunday. It was a new moon. We are very much in an energetic shift, both in terms of the lunar cycle that we're in. It's about to be my birthday too, coming up. So I just wanted to set some self-care goals for myself. And then I wrote just 5 things I'm grateful for at the bottom. And those I've been updating. So those are just some self-care things that I've been doing. But, you know, we think about data-driven teaching. We think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, all these things applying to kiddos, but it works for us too. It applies for us to work humans too.
I just think that's so important and so relevant to take that time to cultivate self-care, especially as teachers. You know, I know that it's so easy for educators to recognize the significance and importance of social emotional learning and self-care of students, but it's like teachers allow themselves to get burned out So all of those tips and tools you shared are very helpful, and I hope that, you know, whoever is watching this will get a chance to use them. And if you're already using them, like, good job. What role do you see mindfulness or meditation playing inside of the classroom and also outside of the classroom, like personally for teachers?
Hmm. Oh gosh. Well, this is so special that you specifically that we're talking about this, because honestly, Ashley, you have been like my guru, meditation guru, my meditation inspo, my mindfulness. Like, I am just so grateful for your openness in sharing this practice, inviting me in space and community in Baltimore that you're involved in. So specifically with mindfulness, the most important piece that I think is I do mindfulness is bringing us to the present, to now. And we as human beings are programmed for aversion out of discomfort. So if we're feeling uncomfortable, if we are in our like fuzzy comfort zone, we want to get out. We have aversion to it. So whether that means scrolling on our phones, having a glass of wine, binging Netflix, whatever the case may be, we self-soothe in that way. So when one is practicing mindfulness or meditation, there might be feelings of discomfort. Don't run away. It's okay. Like, sitting in that discomfort, holding space for yourself and sitting in that discomfort actually strengthens a part of the brain right behind the frontal lobe. And when that part of the brain is strengthened, like any muscle is exercised, and you sit in that discomfort for just one more second longer than you did the day before, that's growth, that's progress, that's affirming, but more so, that's strengthening part of the brain, so that when you are in another experience of discomfort again at any other point in your life, whether you're with kiddos or not, right, you're going to be able to have a better sense of decision making and patience that you didn't necessarily have before. So when we're working with kiddos, when we're interacting with kiddos who've experienced trauma specifically, right? Like, there might not be predictable ways of behavior. There might not be things that we are in control of or can anticipate happening. But when we're faced with them and chaos erupts and we're in a moment of discomfort, instead of running away or self-soothing, because you practice that meditation and mindfulness, you're a little bit stronger to receive that opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, that's beautiful. And, you know, I'm a huge mindfulness and meditation advocate for all people, whether they're children or adults, whatever. It just has such a, it's beyond words that the impact that it has had on my life, just to create that space so we're not moving from reactivity, from old patterns, old ideas. I mean, we can kind of stay in that state of freshness, of creativity, and of flow, which is so important in any field, but especially as a teacher. So what are your plans for the summer? What are you up to this summer?
So I am actually leaving today to go camping in Western Maryland for a whole week. I'll be going out to Deep Creek. I have really enjoyed being out in nature. It's my second time out there this year. I was in the Shenandoah Valley the weekend before. So I have really loved being outside, being around, like disconnecting and detaching from my cell phone. Little rectangle right here, which is like so amazing to connect on and with the global community of educators who believe in this work and who are advocating for the mental health and wellness of our kiddos and teachers. But like, it has been for me. So social media distancing has been a practice that I've been engaging in this summer for self-care, and I'm excited to do more camping. I'm actually working on my first book, so I'll be doing some more writing this summer as well. And that has been a real journey for me in terms of facing my own imposter syndrome as an author, a writer, and sharing my has been a goal of mine. And so that is what I'm really excited about for the coming months.
Okay, beautiful. So if anybody has any questions, you know, now is like a perfect time to ask. If you have any questions for myself, if you have any questions for Dana, this is a great time for you to go for that. I wanted to ask you something, but it just slipped my mind. Okay, so like, what's like one piece of wisdom that you would want to leave with any teacher?
I
Yeah,
would
so we'll wait for people to get their questions in while you answer that.
Yeah, I would say that the most revolutionary act that you can do as an educator is to take care of yourself. It is quite literally the most game-changing thing that you can do. That self-care is professional development. That when you're investing in your own happiness, it's not just some fluffy, woo-woo, self-indulgent type of thing. When you are investing in your own self-care, you're benefiting the students in your classroom, you're benefiting your family members, you're benefiting your own health and wellness so that you can do this longer, right? So one of the things that we say at the end of every Happy Teacher Revolution meeting is that you can't pour from an empty bowl and you can't teach from an empty soul. So this idea of compartmentalizing ourselves, like we are human beings. So bring your most authentic self to the classroom. Yes, you can't pour from an empty cup. Exactly.
Love
Like
it.
your cup is like filled all the way up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's empty, there's nothing to pour from. But what you have to pour from is like the overflow, right? Like you don't pour just a little bit. What you have to pour from is the overflow. So think about what you're plugged into. What are you charging yourself with, right? Like when I am with my cell phone, I'm supposed to be listening to the summer school
We're
PD, but
so glad you're here too.
this is a real PD. Yes, this is the PD districts need to have. Yes, hire us. Link our live up to like the mic us up in the PD. Mic us up. Let's infiltrate the professional development scene for real. No, but in all honesty, now this is gonna be a side note. The professional development industry in the United States is a $2.8 billion industry, which means that schools are spending between $8,000 to $12,000 per teacher, sometimes schools out of their own budget for PD. Raise your hand if you've been to life-changing transformational PD. Right? Like, I get this PD where I'm like, how much did they pay for this? And how much do these materials cost? And they end up in the basement for like how long that nobody ever touches them? Such a waste. Like teachers learn from each other. Also, teachers learn from people who have done the work, not somebody who shows some videos of some kids in some like acting studio. I'm like, are those real children? I don't think I saw one of them blink. Like, those are, like, I hate those videos. Like oh my gosh. And so like, I think that's really what, we're craving authenticity. We're craving people to be real. For our teachers, for our grown-ups, our stakeholders, our change makers to be authentic, to share from a place of authenticity. I think, we're so connected in this virtual sense, but like, how are we connecting ourselves, our souls, right? Like, what are we plugged into in terms of self-care that we're plugged into, not just when we're on SOS emergency battery depletion level, but like, even when we're charged up, we need to keep continuing the practice of self-care so that it's a routine.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Can you tell us where we can find out more about Happy Teacher Revolution, where we can find out more about you?
Yeah, check out our website, happyteacherrevolution.com. Follow us on Instagram at Happy Teacher Revolution. We have a link tree with all the links to our intro course and our certification program. And we also have a bunch of free resources in our starter pack. So check out happyteacherrevolution.com or follow us on Instagram at Happy Teacher Revolution. And I'm Danna, D-A-N-N-A. My email is danna@happyteacherrevolution.com. Thank you, Joanna, for joining.
Thanks, Joanna. All right, awesome. This is Infinite Focus School Summer Teacher Talk series. We're here with Danna Thomas of Happy Teacher Revolution. My name is Ashley Williams. I'm the founder and CEO of Infinite Focus Schools, which is a mindfulness and socio-emotional app. You can learn more about us at infinitefocus.org, or you can follow us on Instagram at Infinite Focus app. So we'll be back next Wednesday with another teacher, more self-care talk, more summer plans. This is awesome. Thank you guys. This has been great. See ya.